So let's talk about canned beans. So anything that comes in a can, from soup to your LaCroix, all of that has really high amounts of bisphenols and other chemicals that come from the plastic lining on the inside of that can. Yep, canned foods have been known to be one of the highest sources of bisphenols for almost 20 years now. And unfortunately, most brands these days try and greenwash by saying BPA free, but that just means they're putting one of the other bisphenols on the inside plastic lining of that can. And a lot of those show to actually be more toxic. And just so you know, BPA is extremely bad, linked to lots of different types of cancer, a suppressed immune response. And here's the thing about bisphenols. They are non-monotonic. Tiny amounts have massive impacts on your body. However, lots of people do have a difficult time switching away from canned beans. So let's talk about what your options are. There's one brand that I know of that doesn't use a plastic lining on the inside, and that brand is Eden Foods. They can be a little difficult to find, but they use what's called an oleoresin lining on the inside of every can. That doesn't have any bisphenols, literally zero. It's non-toxic. Yes, this option exists for every single brand out there, but why don't they use it? Because corporate profits are more of a priority than customers' health. You can actually find beans by certain brands in Tetra-pak cartons. I've covered this in other videos, but Tetra-paks have shown in many, many studies to have a fraction of the amount of chemicals leaching out versus anything in a metal can. There was a study out of Cambridge that came out in 2020 that showed that rinsing beans did show that it significantly reduced the amount of bisphenols on the outside of those beans. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to do this with like refried beans. This is still an option. However, cooking beans at home really doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes a little bit of knowledge. And what you can do is just keep like a glass jar just soaking in the back of your fridge. And then when you do cook them, put them in a pot with a tight fitting lid. Honestly, depending on the bean, it can take about 30 minutes. It's fast. You can then actually freeze them. That's what I do. So really, I do recommend that way, especially because dried beans, not only do they last forever in storage, but they're way cheaper and just overall better for you than anything cooked in a can.